Yeah, I looked this morning. It's probably before we put it on. Huh. Yeah, that's a big loss.
First up is elections of officers. First thing we need to do is elect a president. Do I have any nominations for president?
I nominate Mike Hensley as president.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's 6-0. It's all yours,
Abstain.
Mr. Hensley. 5-0.
All right, next order of business is vice president. We have a motion for vice president.
Nominate Rick.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Penrod. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
6-0. And then the position of secretary, is there a motion?
I motion to do Brian Raymer.
First, a second.
Second.
Mr. Fierstedos. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any
Abstain.
opposed? Brian abstains, 5-0.
Before we go any further, can I ask all of you to put your microphones
Any additions, deletions?
No additions or deletions?
Hearing of none. Now next item is consideration of appointments.
Consideration of appointments, a lot of these are appointments of people that are in these positions. It's a step that we have to go through, starting with Corporation Manager Darla Kane. Do you want to do these all in one, or do you want to do each one?
All in one.
Okay. Comptroller Shelley Leifer, Corporation Attorneys, Work and Boyne, Mr. Tim Shelley, Legislative Liaison, Mr. Penrod, Heartland Career Center, Mr. Orr, North Manchester Redevelopment Commission, Mr. Raymer, Parks and Rec Committee, Mr. Esposette, Title IX Coordinator, Tyson Sylvius.
Have a motion to approve appointments.
So moved.
Mr. Raymer, a second.
Second that.
Mr. Penrod, discussion. Just say thanks for serving in these positions, everyone. All in favor?
Aye.
6-0.
Next is, get my
Organization of Board Finance.
Organization of Board Finance. We have to do two things with that. The first one is a report on investments. You don't have any investments? That is the report on investments. So we do not have investments at this time. Secondly, is to organize the Board of Finance, and I'll let Mr. Hensley read what that is about.
So annual requirement, January meeting, normal procedure, President announced reorganization of Board of Finances. Board of Trustees of North Manchester School District organize a membership committee of the whole to function as a Board of Finance for a period of 1 year, and further stipulates that the Board President and School Board Secretary hold the same offices on the Board of Finance. So we need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Mr. Raymer.
Second.
And for the new members, typically the board approves budgets, expenditures, so you guys act as the Board of Finance, and then traditionally the President and Secretary serve in the they have with the board. So
Second. From any discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
6-0, no nays.
establishment. Next is establishment of designated. It is now called the Wabash County News Journal was a merge between the two papers, so that would be our official newspaper for any requests for bids, things like that. We would utilize that avenue. So I need a motion to approve them as the designated paper for 2025.
Motion.
Mr. Penrod, a second. Mr. Rohr, any discussion? Thank you for representing us with the paper. All right, so, all in favor?
Aye.
0.
Next is corporation member compensation. Compensation is $2,000 a year and $50 per meeting, with the exception of 2 meetings where occur, for example, an exec session and a regular board meeting the same day. It would constitute 1 meeting.
So get a motion to approve compensation, then we can have discussion.
Motion to retain.
Mr. Penrod, second. Mr. Raymer, any discussion?
Say we maintain status quo.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
6-0. And then we're to financial report.
Okay, financial report. First thing on financial report is we receive per Indiana code, we receive a funding floor requirement summary. I believe you've all, our responsibility is to acknowledge that we've received that from the state and to post it on our website, which we will post when we complete the board meeting. Beyond that, the next portion is our annual financial report or end of the year financial report. I'm going to invite Ms. Leifer to come up and present that report to you.
How is Miss Life?
Oh, she's fabulous.
Awesome.
Loving the snow. Love it. It's pretty all day. So, for the new people, I'm Shelley Leifer. You probably already know that, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. I put this together for every month. This one's going to have the whole year, but at the end of January, we'll have a January report. Expense section, we take all the salaries, all the benefits, and this is for the education fund. There's there's lots of different funds we operate on. These are the 2 big ones that we report on for you guys. So we take the salaries, the benefits, the claims, and the transfers. And you can see what we have projected we were going to do and what actually happened and if there's any variance. And as the Stevens like to say, green is good, red is not so good. So at the end of the year, this is kind of what we're looking at for our total expenses, which when you're operating on that big of a budget is not a horrible thing. So we had projected $10,133,000. We ended up with $10 million. The revenue, there's really not ever a lot of other revenue. I just sit there in hopes that the legislators get really
Can you
generous.
fix that? No, I'm just kidding.
Go
I had a
ahead.
question on the transfers. You know, you projected $1 million, you actually transferred 1.1. Can you explain, and does that go to operations? Is that the transfer to operations?
Some of it was to operations, and with our insurance switch, that extra $100,000 went to the insurance fund, the pass-through fund, to help us get that switched over. Everything where we need it, but that's a really good question. Yes, typically that all goes to operations. But we just had with our switch and insurance this year, we had to do that. Then the revenue, again, that is our tuition support. So that changes based on October and February counts, but that's what we projected. And we were just a little bit over, but that was the textbook reimbursement that we don't build into that because you never know. This is only we've gotten it, so we don't know what it is. They haven't really established a pattern. This is what this is going to look like. So the variances are up there, which kind of shows you the cash balance, which is what we're watching all the time just to make sure that cash is good, because cash is king, and that's what we're keeping track of. So we ended the year at 1.837 in cash in the education fund. And we were projecting 1.5, so we were pretty happy. We've been trying to really watch that we spend. And then the operation fund, we do the same report. We track the salaries, the benefits, and the claims. And the revenue up there, it's far less, which is why transfers from the education fund to the operations fund, because that's just not really enough to pay all your support staff and all the other expenditures for buildings, and well, I guess 3 now. So we were pretty good on the variances there. In fact, Dr. Stevens had originally projected we would be negative in the operations fund, so the fact that we ended positive was a pretty good day. And again, I'll do this, this report will be available on a monthly basis. This is just the whole year this time, because I didn't see it going to do December and then the whole year. Any other questions?
What's the statutory limit on transfer from education? Like 15%?
15%.
15, okay.
15%.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Thanks.
We raised that, we're at our max, right?
We're at,
We'll do that'll be a resolution, which is about 83,
But
83.3.
When
a
I
month.
started, we weren't at our 15.
Yeah, I don't know.
I
What
don't know.
you're talking about, I guess. But, yeah.
4 years ago,
it's-
we weren't at
It's
15.
went, yeah, it's went up a little bit. Absolutely. So, yeah, that million, it's about 83,000 a month, a little over. Okay. Can I get a motion to accept the financial report?
Motion.
Does a second. Mr. Orr, discussion?
It's really nice that it's turned in the right direction.
I think this is another systems process thing that has been greatly approved, right? I
Yeah.
really appreciate knowing where we're at in a visual manner. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 6-0. Consent items.
next consent items, of course, you have claims and minutes. Resignation, Brittany Fox, MES Cook, Carly Laura, special, who just decided to stay home and be a mama. Beth Landis, food service operation manager, and Relissa Underwood, attendance secretary. Grants, we had none. Donations, Kramer?
Yep. We had $125 donated to MES for artwork from Orthodontic Special Services, Inc. $30,000 to Manchester Community Schools program from an anonymous food administered fund administered by the Community Foundation of Wabash. $25 to the junior senior high school choir program by Patrick Price. $100 to the junior senior high school girls basketball program, North Manchester Moose, number 1518. $250 to the junior senior high school's FFA program by Metzger Landscaping and Design, LLC. $400 to the junior senior high school engineering department from Valley Dance Theater Incorporated. $100 to the junior senior high school art department from Wabash Valley Dance Theater Incorporated. $500 to the junior senior high school choir program from Wabash Valley Dance Theater Incorporated. $500 to the junior senior high school cross country program, the construction of the MXC Pavilion from Leyland Allen. $1,000 to the junior senior physics program for the 2025 trip west from various donors. $1,000 to the junior senior high school cross-country program for the construction of the Manchester Cross Country Pavilion from Poet Biorefining and Management LLC. And last but certainly not least, $1,500 to the junior cross-country program for the construction of the Manchester Cross Country Program Pavilion, Donald and Sue Meyer, for a total of $35,500. It's a very generous community that we live in. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, community. Facility rentals?
Facility rentals, we have Squire Volleyball Club renting on Sundays from January through April. They do check the calendar, and if there are needs for a Sunday rental, they relinquish, that opportunity. But ran last year, they did expand it this year to include MIS gym and the high school gymnasium, and that is run by a coach. So,
Thank you, Adam. Is that it?
oh, sorry, and then that's it.
And so, motion for approval of consent items.
Motion to approve the consent
Mr.
items.
Penrod, second. Mr. Raymer, discussion.
Thank the 4 that are leaving us. Becky Landis has been with us a long time. I think Relissa had been here for many years, so best of luck.
23 years.
23 years,
Yeah.
Becky. Yeah, so best of luck on their next venture.
That's what you call service, so. In favor?
Aye.
Aye.
6-0. Recommendations for approval, employment.
Employment, I'm going to butcher, hopefully not too bad, this first name, but it's, I think it's Kijuan or Jean Leak, Manchester Junior High School track assistant. Rebecca Clemens, Manchester Elementary School part-time cook. Sean Ream, Manchester Junior High volunteer high school junior high track assistant. Yeah, that's all of them.
Yep. How about, we'll just do these independently.
Okay.
Motion to approve employment. Mr. Raymer. Second. Mr. Orr. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
And then approval of 2025 school board meetings.
2025 school board meeting, second Tuesday of the month at 6 p.m. and there's a calendar of January through December.
Everybody get a chance to look at that. And then we do, if there's additional, if not, we'll schedule those usually on the third Tuesday, but let's try to avoid those this year. So, motion to approve.
I make a motion.
Second. Mr. Raymer. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
6-0. Then 7.3, I think, is the resolution to transfer funds from education to operations. So this was in the packet. It is, currently, it's for $1 million.
Actually, the first one
Wait a minute.
is, the first resolution is to close out the end of year books. The resolution allows my office to transfer funds between underutilized funds to overutilized funds to balance the books. We do it every year at the end of the year. No new monies. It's just transferring. If you appropriated $10,000 in one account and only spent $5, and you appropriated $5 in another account and spent $10, you transfer that $5 over to close out the books, so that those balances are all zero. So every year you guys do it at the end of the year, but it's to
Yeah, it's just.
no new monies. Just to transfer appropriations from underutilized to overutilized year-end closing.
Okay.
And is that a standard practice? All school systems do
Every
it?
school, yep.
Yeah, reallocation, basically.
And part of that is because when you do appropriation, you're taking an educated guess when you're appropriating based on past expenditures, and things come up, in operating and or an education fund, whatever, sometimes those appropriations are either underutilized because you over appropriated, or they're not appropriate enough because you had something come up. So this just allows for the transfer between the used and unused to balance out the end of the year books.
Within the approved budget.
Right.
So,
If,
yeah, it's just kind of blotted out on my agenda. So motion to approve.
Motion to approve the
Mr.
transfer
Penrod,
resolution.
second. Discussion? I think we already had it, so. All in favor?
Aye.
now it's the resolution
Yeah.
to transfer.
And then, what is that, then 7.4, motion to transfer funds from education to operations.
This is, it's a resolution to transfer. There are things that the state does not allow us to count in education fund. For example, your superintendent, some of your central office personnel, bus drivers, because apparently must have an impact on education. So we have to put that in operating. And as Ms. Seifert stated, operating, is barely enough to run regular operations. So every year we're allowed to do up to 15% transfer from ed to op by state law. And we utilize those funds to offset personnel costs, operational needs, things that we cannot utilize education funds per state statute for.
So motion to approve, then we'll have discussion. Mr. Raymer, a second. Mr. Fearstow, thank you. Discussion?
So the 15% that can only be transferred back and forth, is it only from education to operational, or it can go operational to education,
Ed to op,
just only ed to op?
Yep.
Okay.
Very typical. So yeah, the 1 million, and Adam went a little over 100,000 on the insurance last year, but equates to about 83 and a third a month as far as the transfers. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 6-0. And then 7.5, approval of public notice to accept bids to replace wireless access point switches firewall under the federal rebate.
Yep, so Mr. Miller's gonna fill us in.
Good evening, and for those of you, I'm Tony Miller, Director of Technology, and I don't get up here too often, but I'm not going to take much time tonight because Mike's keeping us moving quickly. What I'm asking is seeking your approval to advertise public bids on E-rate equipment, or I should say technology equipment, as it says, access point switches and firewall under the federal E-rate program. The best part about this is we pay about 20 cents on the dollar through E-rate. They support us both for our internet access and for equipment that's necessary for connecting our access. So I just request your approval for such.
Okay. Motion
So
to
moved.
approve, Raymer. Mr. Raymer, second. Ms. Tobias, discussion?
So you just typical internet equipment.
It's going to wireless access, the firewall, which is our main security piece. We've been for security and internet access, yes.
Okay.
So we'll see bids. We have to go through a very specific process to do that. And
And that's all determined by E-rate.
how much?
And the bid process is determined by them as well?
Yes.
What's the status of that program, Tony? Have you heard any chatter on that?
Oh, yeah.
Do it quick.
The real thing is that there have been some people out there who have said that it's unconstitutional to collect money off of your telephone bills to help the schools and the libraries for internet activity. I don't think anything's been decided on that, but it's a little concerning for us schools and libraries because a good portion of our internet, which we pay a few $100s a month versus thousands of dollars for that type of connectivity. So it would be a very scary, it would impact the budget quite a bit.
Yeah, and I kind of think, people in the, this is something I personally hear about, right, sometimes on the connectivity, so. Motion to approve.
Hang on. How do you do list?
So we have, it goes out on a list that's nationwide, all right? Now, we do kind of limit it. We have a meeting here that everybody who wants to bid has to provide somebody here and sign in for that, because what happens is we'll get 20 or 30 bids from all over the United States that are just literally low bids. They collect, they push it, and they're not here to represent anybody except in hopes that they get money. So that's about the only stipulation we add to it.
Okay. Thanks.
Do you have a expected or range of might come in as?
Yeah, just under 200,000. So the program that we're to, which is hardware equipment, not services such as internet, we're allotted so much per student in a 5-year period, right? And we have just under $200,000 available to us to spend. 80% of that will come from the federal side. The rest we have to pay for ourselves. So that's a limiting factor at this point in time. It's the 5th year, and it's time for us to replace our access points. They're 7 years old.
How can we discount? All in favor?
Aye.
6-0.
Do you mind if I stick up here for the other piece?
Which is the other piece?
Power School.
Yeah, you can touch on that. I mean,
Yeah, just real quick, you
Yeah,
guys
go
all
ahead.
received an email from Tony that last week Power School information system notified us of a breach. They noticed it December 28th. They notified us again on the afternoon of the 7th. What we do know is that the perpetrators came in and took our student database, or copied the student database and our staff database, which has Social Security numbers for the students, birthdays, names, addresses, guardian information, as far as that goes. It's not a complete contact list, but it is of the guardians. Teachers and staff, the same information. Birth dates aren't in that information. We're working with Power School. We're working with their cyber insurance to get all the. There's a lot of regulations, regulatory agencies that we have to report this. So we really need the help of our cybersecurity insurance. This is an entity outside of us. It's an entity that we trusted to take care of that data for us, and unfortunately, this incident is just something that corporations are dealing with. That happens frequently, more frequently than what we care to, but we're trying to get it rectified as quickly as possible.
I was talking to somebody at the state, was the social security numbers limited to the last 4 digits, right? Or no? Okay.
No. Now, in our case for the staff, we have very few that wasn't just 4 digits, okay, but we had some students that were in their full digits, so we're working with Power School to get those cleaned out of there ASAP, and then we'll be working again with the insurance companies, Power School, to get all that cleaned up and figure out what we have to do or what they have to do to get that taken care of.
Have we given any guidance to who those might affect? You know, if they've lost their Social Security number, is there any kind of guidance or anything we need to help them with?
This is who we're trying to work with the people so that we can get that done properly. We just don't want to notify people and then have nothing to tell them, because we'll believe that there's going to be some credit protection that's going to go with that, but we just don't know yet.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got like 8 letters from last year, right, of breaches, and then they provide the identity protection. How effective that is.
Yeah.
and this wasn't, it was a nationwide breach, Canada, worldwide, yeah, Power School users. So we're talking tens, if not hundreds of thousands of teachers and students impacted.
It's pretty much a fresh wound at this point in time since we just got notified. So again, we're relying on the people who deal with this type of thing day in, day out to try to get this rectified as fast as we can. We want to make sure that everybody's noticed is notified and everybody is protected as best as they're going to protect them. So, yeah, good question. All right, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Miller.
Thanks.
Moving on, Heartland update. Well, any
When's the meeting?
I'll just say
Hot off
this,
the press.
thank you, Mr. Orr, for taking that role on. I think it's very critical. We've kind of had a discussion about what, financial vehicles and, kind of what needs to happen there, so appreciate you taking that role
And
on.
I'll make sure that I communicate with Mr. McWhorter, the director, and give him contact information for you so he
Good.
can notify you about meetings, etc.
Awesome. Legislative update.
We just kicked off the session on Monday. I was going to start to go through the list and read some of them, but it's so early on. I counted there's 116 bills that are related to education, and that'll get whittled way down. So by February, we can start to see we're getting more traction, and I'll start to bring some of those forward. But right at this point, I don't want you to get too excited because there's going to be it's going to get kicked out, or amended.
And for the two board members, so the ISBA, have you got any emails from ISBA? They're a good resource for boiling down, some of the legislative. One of the things I like is now he's putting out a little video, so I kind of crank that on and listen while I'm working. It's a good way to get caught up as well. So it'll be the activity will be very interesting this year.
And it's a budget year as well, so.
Yeah.
Mariah, did you say no, you haven't gotten any?
I haven't gotten any ISBA emails.
Yeah,
or-
missing
Oh,
one
my lord.
upload, so we had to wait until.
You should be getting like 15 a day.
So tomorrow she'll submit the new board to ISBA, and then that will get you on the listserv, and you'll start getting daily updates.
Okay.
They'll pull articles from around the state, things going on in the state, and occasionally they'll do legislative updates, they'll do training updates, things that ISBA offers, et cetera, and you'll get those to your email.
Also, they got a new board membership training. If you have the time, right, sometimes the timing, but they've all quite a bit of that virtual, so I try to attend like the president meetings and stuff virtually, things like that, so just another good resource, so. Okay. Superintendent comment?
Good start to the second half of the year. I see Mr. McClure sitting back there, got a month under his belt in his new role. Good. I shared with Mr. Hensley. Good admin director team meeting last week. Doing a book study called Systems, so basically getting everybody on the same page, making sure we're all pointed from pre-K through 12 to our goals and our mission, and heading in that direction. So, knock on wood, until today, the weather's cooperated. I don't know what the morning will look like tomorrow morning, but it's been a good start, and I'm excited about the year, excited about the board, and ready to continue to do great things for the school board.
Awesome. School board comments?
Just want to say welcome to our two new members.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's been good so far.
Gender equality now.
Efficiency for the first meeting.
Yeah.
Adam kind of nailed the point on the legislation. It is a budget year, and I think, we'll see what happens. Should be interesting, but we've got a lot of good things going on at MCS, right? And I think for 2025, hopefully, we can kind of focus on business and eliminate or at least minimize distractions, right? So.
And real quick,